Hello everyone and thank you for attending today's webinar titled A Complete NetSuite ERP Walkthrough. This webinar is a presentation of Guru Solution and will be hosted by Dylan Gullo, Solution Consultant at Guru Solution, and myself, Julien Pelletier, also Solution Consultant at Gurus. I hope you enjoy today's content. This webinar is the first of a series of 2 webinars about NetSuite ERP implementation. In this first webinar, we'll be going through what you need to know about the NetSuite platform with an overview of the feature, a quick demo of the platform showing user dashboards configured specifically for their roles and their industry. We'll then go over a typical NetSuite implementation and the things to watch out for. After that, I'll talk about how Gurus can help you scale your business with cloud solution. And we'll end with a Q&A session in case you have any question about either Gurus or NetSuite. We are going to be starting with the NetSuite platform overview, the last ERP you'll ever need. Nowadays, in order to be as efficient as it can be, a company needs to pick the proper ERP, providing the right type of tool for every user. The user, by example, will require a UI that is built based on his needs, with a dashboard that shows him the information that he requires. He'll also need to be able to consume that information on many types of different devices, like iPhone, tablets, or computers. In the case of the business analyst, on the other hand, you will need to be able to configure business rules, build table, and add fields in an efficient way to support your company's business processes. Whether you have an internal developer team or not, you'll be glad to know that NetSuite provides an integration with the most common developer tool to provide you with the power to customize your instance. When it comes to the administrator, having the tools to manage the security and the users will greatly improve the control that you have over the access to the information within your enterprise, as well as avoid employees creating transactions they should not be able to create. For the CIO, it really is all about the peace of mind that you get knowing that your data is safe within the system. There's also the peace of mind that you get knowing that any change done to any record within NetSuite can be tracked to the user that made it. For a partner like us, SuiteCloud allows us to extend the capabilities of NetSuite as well as develop new applications for our customers. Just to summarize, your user will be able to consume his data on any type of device that he wants to. Your business analyst will be able to extend the feature of your NetSuite by creating workflows or adding extra tables to the database. Your developer would have a direct link with your NetSuite instance to customize it. Your administrator will have the peace of mind knowing that he's not version locked because of some customization and that he'll be able to pass to the next release just as easily as the last one. Your CIO will be happy to know that your system is compliant and that it has a 99.99% uptime. And for us, the partners, we'll just keep providing you with application to extend the features of NetSuite. Let's take a bit of a deeper look at the NetSuite features and see what makes it a flexible, powerful, and complete platform. For your operation, benefit of a modern ERP with all the security, scalability, and performance that you need. Not only does NetSuite come with a foundation to run your operation, it comes built in with the tools to either integrate to other systems, customize your instance, report on any data you may have within your instance, create workflows with a visual tool, bundle and download bundles or other configurations from other people. Because of that, NetSuite allows your company to go global. Multi-country, multi-subsidiary, multi-currency, you'll be able to manage your business however big it is. The true cloud setup allows for reliable access from anywhere through a web browser, whether it's on a phone or a computer. No more printed piles of paper for each transaction, with the capability to manage your digital assets within NetSuite. Finally, collaborate and manage your employees using the Suite Social, a human capital management add-on for NetSuite. Now let's make sense of all the modules that NetSuite offers. NetSuite was initially built for 5 different verticals: financial, retail and distribution, manufacturing, services, and software. At Gurus, we know that all companies are different. We know that a financial company will not be using the same requirement as a manufacturing company or as a software company. That's why at the beginning of every project, our consultant would sit with you to establish which modules are needed to better modelize your company in a NetSuite instance. Based on your enterprise, you'll need a different set of module. Based on the set of module, we'll need to interview different stakeholders. For example, for financials, the CEO, CFO, CIO are probably people that should be interviewed in order to better modelize your business. For retail and distribution, the COO. For the manufacturing, the COO. For services, the VP of professional services. And for software, another different mix of stakeholders. I will now be passing the mic to Dylan Golo, who will be giving you a dashboard walkthrough of the roles of CEO, CFO and controller, and purchasing and inventory manager.
Thanks, Julian. Now, today we're going to be looking at a NetSuite SuiteSuccess instance for the warehouse and distribution vertical. In the top right, you can see that I'm logged in as a CFO, but we'll also be reviewing roles for warehouse operations and the controller role. Now remember that NetSuite roles are configurable, and we can control which permissions are applied to which roles and which dashboards are also configured for certain roles. In SuiteSuccess, we actually have 13 pre-configured roles for the warehouse and distribution vertical, but in this case, we'll be reviewing just these 3 roles for today. At the top of our page, we can see the global search bar. This is where we can query the suite. In this case, when I search Smith, I can actually see different record types that I get matches for, whether it's a customer, employee, contact, or opportunity. And if I wanted to filter down on that, I can actually use the shorthand for the record type, or CU for customer, and it filters down to only customer results. So it's easy to find what I need to in multiple ways in NetSuite. Now, beside this, I see my quick add or quick access menu to easily create new records, whether it's a customer, an invoice, etc. This is personalizable by the end user, so I don't need an administrator to change this. I can change it myself. The Help Center is the next link here. This is a self-service portal to find release notes, user guides, or just articles related to something I'm searching for. For instance, if I wanted to see the accounting preferences and how to configure those, I could just search accounting, find the article related to accounting preferences, and then NetSuite will lead me through the other related articles to find what I'm looking for. So it's really self-service for the end user. The next bar here is the navigation bar, and it starts with the recent records breadcrumb trail. So whether I want to review a recently accessed bill or invoice or sales order, I can do it from here. The next would be the bookmarks list, which is also configurable by the end user, so I can change this myself even after administrators have given me access. See, the income statement and balance sheet are similar to these dashboard tile shortcuts I see here. And I'm on the home dashboard right now. Within this, I also can set my own preferences, which is the ability to change things like how lists look, or how reports look, or how a dashboard might look, for instance. And beside that, I see a list of centers. Now, centers are also configurable. And what they do is they list out categories of different links into the system, maybe writing checks, deposits, etc. A good example of how a center is used is actually not only by listing these categories and links, but also when we click on this center, it'll show us these links in a dashboard view. For instance, the report center, it's going to show me those same categories, but listed in a portlet here, categorizing each of the saved reports, searches, and just other categorized reports that we might have in the instance. And this is a good example of all the standard reports that NetSuite comes with, as we have over 100 standard reports at both the summary and detail level for financials. So we always start from these standard reports before we try to customize the instance, because it always gets us there more quickly. Back to the home dashboard, we can now review the other portlets we have here, and we notice that we have reminders in the top left. We have some dashboard tiles for easy access links to reports. And we also will have these trend graphs that we can configure ourselves, income by period on the left, monthly payables on the right. And these are toggleable by the user themselves. We can change to a weekly view if we wanted to, change to a bar graph if we wanted to. It's really up to the end user at that point. In the center, we can see some key performance indicators. Again, these aren't hard set, but they are pre-configured with SuiteSuccess, so we can give them that value on day one. And we even have navigation portlets to get to different quick access links depending on the role we're using. Right now we're seeing the CFO quick access links, but we could look at this from maybe an executive management role as well. And this is just showing us different reports or different links in the system that might be relevant. As we go down, we can see a portlet that's fueled by a saved search that's giving me cash projections, whether it's AR due versus AR cash received, AP owed versus AP cash paid, and then finally the net due owed and the net cash received. Below that, we can even see a saved search again for year-to-date sales and vendor balances, account reconciliation. This is all configurable by the end user as well. Let's say, for instance, that I wanted to change the order of these portlets. I could change that. I could hide a few of them if I wanted to. But what if I wanted to add a new portlet? For instance, I have my customers here in a list, but I want to visualize that. Well, I can come to the top, click Personalize, and I have options here, whether it's standard content, you can see we have calendars, lists, KPI scorecards, and more. Report snapshots, if I wanted to simply see a snapshot of a report, or trend graphs. Now, if I wanted to add that the customers year to date, I'm going to be looking at report snapshots. And I'll just drag this into my dashboard here, close this out. And we can see it's already decided for me to start at the comparative sales report, but I can change this. I can set this up myself. Now, we have a lot of different snapshots to choose from, but I'll just show you how to quickly get into the customers by sales report. You can see that I can choose the type of chart, the date range, and down here I'm going to actually look at more than the top 5. Let's look at the top 15, for instance. And I'll save this. And in real time, I can see my top customers by sales in thousands. Now, these types of reports we can actually zoom into to see a little more detail. We can see here I can go right into the finer detail, and I can zoom back out. I can also change how I'm looking at this information. For instance, if I want to see it in a pie chart format instead, and now I can actually see top 15 customers and the percentages they represent in terms of revenue. And this is for the current period right now. I could change this and see maybe this rolling half. And we should see slightly different numbers as well. Let's change back to the current period. And we'll also show the ability to toggle on and off customers. So let's say I took away my highest percentage customer here with 27%. I can just toggle down here, remove it, and now I'll notice that without that, the second place customer now takes out 33%. So just some of those ease of use functionalities in any of these reports and dashboard trend graphs. Now, we can look at other centers that are pre-configured with financial metrics or other dashboard links for us. For instance, the financial center might be somewhere that we want to put other financial metrics, maybe it's some KPIs, and we have some of the similar metrics as well, like the weekly cash projection here. And when we look at the financials metrics in the middle, this is pre-configured to look at this period, last period, some fiscal quarters to period, and the last fiscal quarter to period. But when I come down to some of these metrics, we'll see that they can be visualized. For instance, the gross profit percentage. Again, we have one of those trend graphs that we can swap how we're looking at it, whether by period or quarterly. And when we come out of this, we can actually click on one of these metrics, and we'll notice exactly the numbers that make up this calculation. Now, of course, some of these are only showing us the metric calculation, but others will jump straight into our reports. For instance, if I click on revenue, I'll be brought straight into my income statement for the current period, as that's what I was just clicking on within the portlet itself. And now we have our first look at a NetSuite financial statement, in this case, an income statement. And we'll notice that we have our financial sections of the report based on financial rows. At the bottom here, we're going to notice our filters. We can filter by date and by subsidiary. In this case, we're looking at the top level subsidiary, but we could filter down if we had a multi-subsidiary instance. And then finally, we have our column here, which is really how we're slicing and dicing our data. Now, I have the option to actually look at my financial statement by a myriad of segments. Here I have my class or my business lines, my departments, my locations, my subsidiaries, and then we have a couple options for different accounting periods or quarters. Before I get to that though, let's just look at some of these options at the bottom. I can actually collapse my report entirely and then step out by section as I've grouped it. I can also create my own Excel graphs. I can export this report into Excel, PDF, CSV, or Word. I can print it, email it, or I can schedule an email. Now, let's say that I wanted to look at this financial report and look at it not just by total, but actually by location. I can do that. I'll refresh this, and now I'll actually see my financial report thrown out by location. I have two US locations here. This is just one example of slicing and dicing the data. I also could be looking at this by accounting period. And let's look at more than one period here. Let's move back from February maybe to the previous Q3. And now we're going to see, of course, that quick slicing and dicing capability in NetSuite for financial reporting, but also other reports. And we can see how it's breaking out everything pretty easily for us. And if we wanted to jump into the detail, you can see that NetSuite's even suggesting for me to look at the detail report here. Now I'll be looking just at that single account for the date range that I chose, and I was looking at the total there, so it'll be all the results. And if I wanted to dive into one of these individually, I could simply go even deeper. I can go right down into the transaction record from the top. So now I'm going to go from that summary level to the detail level, and finally to the transaction itself. So if I wanted to do some sort of inquiry into the transaction itself. And from here, we can see the status of this invoice. We can see the date and relevant customer. We can even see where it was created from and the items itself, of course. From this point as well, we could look at related records, for instance, which is obviously the payment on the invoice. And we can look at the GL impact. So every record in NetSuite is always going to show us the non-posting or posting GL impact, and we have the ability to obviously put that in a sublist view here as well. Now let's head over to my controller role, where I'll see that the home dashboard is similar, but one big difference will definitely be the reminders that are set up. And let's keep in mind that as an end user, I can configure my own reminders. So if I wanted to see that same reminder for the invoices over 30 days, over $50,000, I can also do that. Let me see it added to the bottom here. I can change its appearance, make it look like a headline, and I can also remove it. Now, if we take a look at these sales orders to invoice, we'll see a bulk invoicing screen for all the sales orders currently at that stage, approved and ready for invoicing. And we'll see that I have a date at the top that would be applied to all invoices I would create, as well as an ability to add the invoice to a printing queue or to email them to the customer. In this case, we're respecting the customer preference, which is on customer record itself. And if I wanted to dive deeper into one of these invoices and create them individually, I could do that as well. Here we'll notice that there's a shipping cost included, which is actually taking advantage of the native shipping integration with UPS. And I can save. You can see that that invoice is no longer in my queue. Now, we do have centers dedicated to AR and AP. So let's have a look at the AR dashboard. With this dashboard, we can configure reminders specific to the center and, of course, key performance indicators as well. To dive right into the AR aging report, I'm going to look at this current period for receivables. And here we can see the standard 30, 60, 90, and over 90 bands for AR aging. But I can configure this myself. I have options. I can change the aging to be based on transaction or due date. I can change the as of date, and I can set up regular or irregular bands. So for instance, if I wanted more precision in my AR aging, I could set up bands of 5 bands of 10 days and refresh. Now we can throw it out 2 more columns or 3 more columns wide. And I can actually now come down to a particular column, and I'm going to get a filtered detail report. For instance, here I will see just those invoices for Smith Supplies over 50 days overdue. And we can see that here with the invoices, due dates, dates, and ages. Now, let's move over to my warehouse operations role, where again, I can see a totally unique set of reminders based on the end user's preference. Now, in terms of getting a global view of where my inventory levels are at, I can use the inventory center, and I'm going to see my trend in daily inventory in millions. I also have two items here it's suggesting for me to order. I have one way to look at my inventory snapshot with my current inventory snapshot report down here. And it's going to show that two of these inventory items, as I have here, actually have preferred stock levels and reorder points. And NetSuite's suggesting to order a certain amount. So we have one iPad Pro up here, and we have a MacBook Pro down here. Now, at the reorder point, NetSuite's going to suggest to reorder until you get to the preferred stock level based on how many are already on hand and on order. So for instance, if I return to my inventory center and I click on the items to order, I'll now be brought to the bulk order items page where we have three methods for reordering items. Now we spoke about reorder point already, but time phase would be using demand planning in NetSuite. So using historical trends in sales in order to predict how much should be purchased. The reorder point items we already discussed, and we can see here for the two locations, we have a suggested order for the MacBook Pro at each location, as well as the iPad Pro at each location. Now, of course, blanket POs are if we have planned out purchase orders into the future with our vendors. We don't have any to talk about in this case. And if I wanted to create all of these POs in one step, I could either indicate the exact quantity. Let's say, for instance, I only wanted to purchase 5 more, and NetSuite will check off this location and be creating a purchase order for this location. Let's do the same thing for location 2. And I also want to make sure that I email the vendor with this PO so that they're notified that I actually placed the PO with them. And let's submit. And NetSuite's going to process these purchase orders. Now we have one PO already created right here. Let's take a look at that one and see that the email was actually already sent to the vendor. If I come beneath the communication subtab, underneath messages, you can see that there is an email sent out already with the purchase order included, and I can have a look at it as well. We have a simple format in this case. I'm not using one of the advanced PDF layouts that NetSuite also has, and my vendor's already received it. Now, if we return back to our inventory snapshot, we would see that there's even less suggested to order. For instance, we just ordered some of the MacBook Pro. Now we're down to 19 left to order. From this report, we also can touch down right into the item record. For example, I'm going to use one of these time phase demand planning items, the SunSpark T42 server. And from here, I can actually do an item 360. Now let's go right into that subtab itself for the item 360, and we can see that we have a projected demand with a certain quantity, a base price, and a projected sales amount. We have the same for the supply. We even have sales and margin. So on hand, on sales order, on purchase order. And we also have a three-way match. Within the three-way match, we can actually see highlighted and identified lines based on if it's a quantity variance or a price variance. This is available not only beneath the item, but also on a global level. And of course, to round out the rest of the item 360, we do have historical item sales. We have purchase orders. and we have monthly item quantity sold and the open sales orders. So we really do get that 360-degree view for the item. Now, I hope you enjoyed this demonstration. There's always more to see, so please reach out if you have any questions, and we'd be happy to set up a call to discuss. But at this point, I'll pass it back to Julian. So thank you all, and take it over from here, Julian. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan, for that quick demo. Now let's talk about your NetSuite implementation. Let's now review the implementation process at Guru Solution. The first thing we'll do is go through a scope and planning phase with you. Throughout that assessment, we'll be defining the business requirements of your company in order to modelize your business in NetSuite. After the assessment, you are presented with a preliminary solution estimate, a business requirement document, a project plan for the scope and the timeline of the project, as well as a work breakdown structure, determining who does what throughout the project. Once the assessment phase is over, we'll be doing some working sessions with your employees. That allows us to train your employees as well as learn from your company's business processes. Following the working session, gurus will start doing the data migration as well as the customization or integration that can be done in parallel. Throughout the customization, integration, and data migration, we'll be providing you with an action and risk log, a data migration plan, a weekly status report from our project manager, as well as a detailed requirement design document for any customization in your system. Before we move on, I want to point out that customization, integration, and data migration can be hidden costs in implementation of ERP systems. In order to compare apple to apple, make sure you ask your partner how these topics were scoped. After that comes the testing of your NetSuite implementation and the training of your staff. We do that using some diverse test plan as well as some user acceptance testing. Following that, once we've completed our pre-go live checklist, we'll go ahead and deploy your NetSuite implementation for go live. Although this is not the end of the relationship with Gurus, Gurus will support you all the way to your first month end close, and then we'll assign an account manager for any subsequent initiative. Now that we discussed the process, let's look at the recipe for a successful implementation of an ERP system. At Gurus, we have a unique process. It's been built over 14 years of experience and built up knowledge. This shows through the documentation and methodology used throughout the implementation. In order to be flexible, we'll also provide you with a strategic phased approach. That way, you'll get the control of what's implemented first based on your priority or your timeline. We do also have our own workshop methodology. An ERP implementation without an idea of the extra weight added onto your team can be risky. Establish with us a strategy to balance that workload using our Sherpa methodology. At Gurus, we've got the expertise in all the verticals, as well as the expertise in every skill set needed for a successful ERP implementation. Cloud computing allows both us and our customers to work from anywhere at any time. Clients from all over the world with requirements from every industry. Finally, transparency. At Gurus, you get provided with status report throughout the implementation. That's going to allow you to keep track of the budget, the scope, and the timeline of the project. Also, pay only for the time that has been approved, as we are a time and material shop. With working with Gurus, you can leverage Suite Success industry-specific solutions. Take advantage of the Suite Success solution for pre-built workflows based on role-based leading practices for your industry. With Suite Success, every instance comes with 300 plus reports, dashboard, and other business intelligence tools from day one. That means a faster go live because you don't have to do those configurations and customization, a lower implementation cost for the same reason, and this also gives you the opportunity to align with the leading practices in your industry. I will now be talking about Guru Solutions specifically and what makes us a great partner for your NetSuite ERP implementation. Working with Gurus is leveraging our professional services team. We have all roles needed for a successful ERP implementation, as well as the people needed to support you post implementation. Gurus is also a 5-star partner since 2005 of NetSuite, which shows the dedication that we have towards NetSuite. We also a certified Dell Boomi partner for your integrations, as well as having the largest certified staff for NetSuite in North America. At Gurus, not only do we have a great team, we also have great partners. Whether it's for a pre-built connector or an integration, we have the partner that can help you with it. I wanted to end the webinar by stating the mission that we have at Guru Solution. At Gurus, we scale up business with cloud solution. Our greatest ambition is to help businesses achieve their goals quickly and efficiently. Our CEO, Martin McNichol, who founded the company in 2005, actually wrote a book on the subject. Ask for your free copy of the book after the webinar. Thank you everyone that attended this first of two webinar on NetSuite implementation. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to provide you with answer. Let us know how we can help you scale your business with cloud solutions. Thank you.